Oh God,
We're
don't please.
back. I keep being told that I have a radio voice, and so I've got to bring all those top 40 hits. And hey, everybody, I'm Mike. This is Colin. Um, so we're gonna have a talk with Colin. Hey, Colin, I want you to do something. This is for your protection more than mine. I
Hmm.
want you to mute yourself until I come back to you because I'm going to go share some resources. But I want to say hi to you first. So push mute. It's not my fault if you don't mute it. If you do something weird in the background or say something crazy, it's not my fault. He's muted. All right. Hey, guys. I just want to share a couple of resources with you real quick, and then we're going to go talk to Colin Levy is here with us. Real quick, in the Facebook group, as we do these sessions, look in the comments and the questions below. Anytime I do these interviews, you guys feel free to, talk to me and Colin in this case, and ask whatever questions you have. With Colin, we're going to talk about job search stuff and how kind of that side of the industry is going. And how he's adapting. First, I want to make sure that we're recording. And this is so slow, sorry, because of Skype being on. There we are. So I just want to share a couple of resources. One is this article from CNN, actually, on signs that your anxiety has, stepped up to the next level. Right? We're all anxious right now. That's okay. That's not something to freak out about. But getting to treatable level anxiety is something different. And I want to give you guys some resources to help you figure out which side of that are you on. I found out today that a piece that I recently wrote for PwC for Law Insider is going to be, sorry, for PwC, their, what is the name of their product that I just totally, Insights Officer, sorry. So for Insights Officer, I wrote a piece about why lawyers feel so overwhelmed while we're still so productive. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And one of them is this: we're in these as lawyer workers, we're in heightened states of anxiety, and it actually creates PTSD symptoms. And that's basically what this article is about, is if you're in heightened states of anxiety, even if you normally wouldn't have treatable anxiety, it can create PTSD-like symptoms, and so you want to be really watchful for that. There's good strategies in here. Two other things. These are more about stuff that I've been involved in. Actually, Colin was on this one with me as well. This is a session that I did for Law Insider. If you are a transactions attorney and you've been thinking about how to sort of change your approach to get transactions done during this strange period, that is a really good resource. We had an hour-long webinar with Colin and Megan Xavier and a bunch of other people. Helen Bukulmez was on there. She does that UL thing. It's a Turkish, and I just can't. Bukulmez. I can't hit it, but it's beautiful. She's a beautiful soul. So go watch that. It's really interesting if you're into getting transactions done. And then the last thing I wanted to tell you about, I don't know if I believe from last I saw, signups are still open. Our friend Ernie Svensson is doing a virtual boot camp. He was doing his larger law firm autopilot conference. I was actually supposed to check in today in New Orleans and go to this conference, but he turned it all virtual. So I'm on there with a bunch of other people. You see, there are people in this picture. And there are just a bunch of different speakers. I think he's doing it on a schedule. So my session is actually, it shows 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central virtualized. Sorry, no, that is the other day. Mine is more bonus. There it is. Bonus presentations, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on May 9th. So anyway, go find it on there. I talked about the future of law is going to be good for some and bad for others. Which camp are you going to be in was his snazzy title that he gave it. So anyway, go check that out if you have not registered for Ernie's thing. I don't even know if he was charging anything for it, but anyway, if he is, it's not a lot. So go check it out. That's there in the comments as well. Again, remember, you guys can add comments below as Colin and I chat about what's going on with him. And finally, as you see in the thing in the middle up there, the hashtag AskTwinsies is always open. Nick and I are prepared every Sunday night to give you terrible advice. So make sure you go on the socials and ask for terrible advice, and we will give it to you. So, hi, Colin, back to you. Somebody said hello, Holly. Holly's here. Hello, Holly. Colin, now you have to unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted.
Look at that. He's so tech savvy. The bar for being a tech savvy lawyer is incredibly low. I saw Justy Nickel posted in this Slack group I'm in that she's doing some like how to use tech for lawyers thing, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed." I said, "Dude, legal tech guru is a low bar. Anything past Hotmail, you're in."
Yep.
So, Colin, I've had people on the show at these days to just check in with people and see how people are doing. So I'm going to start very vaguely with you, and we're going to get into some specifics with things that you're coping with. But tell me, how are you guys doing?
We're doing as well as can be. Work's going. The cats in our house are extraordinarily happy these days because we get to spend so much time with them and they get to do anything and everything they want.
You must be nicer to your cats than I am, because my cats are pissed that everybody's home. They're like, "What do you guys feed us?" They just want to be fed all the time.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm nicer. I would say that maybe I am nicer because I guess I am because I just give in. It's just easier.
You're that kind of cat parent.
One
Sure.
will wake me up at 6 a.m, no matter what day it is, what time year it is, and I just do it because that prevents her from screaming and pawing at my face. So there you go.
So, for context for people, Colin is in Boston area, right?
Yes.
And he is in-house counsel at salary.com. Am I remembering
Yes.
that? Okay. And so I assume salary.com's not watching this either. But
They watch nothing.
Colin has been pretty public about a couple of things. One is just dealing with, mental health struggles while, going through this, but just in general, just being a lawyer, he's in my club because we're in club transparency. I've said this before. I think it's fascinating that if a man publicly says what he's going through mentally, it's authentic, and if a woman does it, it's that she's got issues. But
It's stupid.
I could rant about that all day, but I won't. But we see you, ladies. I'm trying to get woke brownie points. Is this working? It's so funny because, by the way, if you say anything wokey on the internets, people like totally rip you apart for just trying to get brownie points. But maybe you guys are just assholes. Maybe that's the problem. Anyway, so you've been very transparent about that, and you've also been transparent about you're dissatisfied at your current spot, and you're looking for something else, and it's really hard because you're trying to find somewhere to use that legal tech background and your legal interests, but it still just doesn't pay as well as just going and getting a freaking job in a law firm and doing traditional legal services stuff. So I wanted to talk to you about that, about the job search. Tell me how that's going. What are you running into right now in the market?
Yeah. So I think the hard part that I'm running into is the fact that I'm being very picky about what I'm trying to find and have always been that way. And part of it is if I'm gonna, commit to work somewhere, I want to make sure that I really want to work there, but B, I also enjoy it so it doesn't feel as worky as other places, if that makes sense. So that's certainly been a challenge. And, I would say the more immediate challenge, quite frankly, is that there's barely an economy right now. So, the folks that are still hiring at this point, if they even are hiring, are probably hiring not for full time, and B, if they are hiring, they're in very few industries. I've seen some things kind of in the cloud industry because obviously, everyone's moving to the cloud if they're not there already. And in some sort of other sort of more resilient industries that are able to build off of this, lack of an economy. So that's kind of what I've been dealing with. And frankly, I'm lucky to be able to just continue to work and what have you. So it's been a journey, but I would say my whole career has been kind of a journey. So this is just another step along that path.
We're all just making crap up as we go. Real quick, I want to say hi to Jan, who is with us. Your experience has also revealed something that I've been talking about for years. There's this perception in the way people talk to us as lawyers especially law students, that if only you would add tech competency X, then you're going to be set for future jobs. I mean, you can read a bunch of Susskind and feel like, oh man, I'm a legal supply chain manager, whatever the hell that means, and then go try to find a job getting that title. It's interesting because a lot of these competencies, going and adding these competencies, doesn't necessarily. First, I want to point out that Kristen Tyler says hi, and she's got to go because she's eating tacos. Kristen, I'm eating tacos with you in spirit. But yeah, a lot of these, like, they tell you if you'd only get these competencies, you can get these jobs. But those jobs, they don't even know how to hire people like us, right? So really, and this might be true of all of you who are in solo practice, having an audience is an asset that nobody can, dictate for you. And as easy as it might feel to go get a job, I'm telling, and this was one of the things I talk about in the book a lot, if you don't fit in, go get an audience because it's yours. And I know you've been doing that work as well. Have you found that getting those connections, the social capital you built up, being really transparent, has that helped with the job search? Has that made a difference for you?
Yeah, I would say it definitely has. I've always been one who always who knew that I never really fit in a lot of different ways. So for me, I never really knew the right words to describe it until I read it and you said it about kind of finding that audience and grabbing it. And that's been, I think, incredibly helpful because I'm the type of person who just likes to talk to people and learn about their experience and want to hear about them. So for me, building up this network that I'm continuing to build has been just kind of fun for me and has, I think, even if it hasn't led to a job, that's kind of more of just a side thing. It's more about me getting to know these people and getting to kind of be a part of this community that I still feel like I'm growing closer to. So that's been the real benefit, I would say. And the side benefit, I think, has been, those network connections tend to be very supportive of one another as they get to know each other. And that, in turn, I think can be very helpful when it comes to looking for work, any type of work, frankly.
Yeah, I was thinking of you, because you've got this certification from Suffolk in technology, whatever. I spoke at Emory University, and afterwards we had this session where all these education stakeholders got together to talk about changing legal education so we incorporate more of these skills. And I remember one of the main issues that the people who worked in firms, one of the main issues that they cited was they don't even know what to call these jobs. They don't know what to call them. They don't know what competencies to list. They don't know how to turn to a client and say, no, we didn't hire the kid from Harvard with the highest grades. Instead, we hired somebody who has all these, tech competencies and consultancy competencies and whatever. And they just didn't know the language to be able to say that. And it was interesting because one guy in the room, I've told this story before, said, it's not our fault. The clients want us to hire the top grades from the top schools. And I pointed out to him, I was like, but isn't all your work being peeled off to the big four and consultancies and whatever? And he said, yeah. So I said, so aren't you giving your clients what they're asking for, but not what they actually want? Right? Their feet are doing the talking. They're hiring people with these broader competencies just because you don't know how to label it because you consider it an alternative. Maybe this is just fundamental to the job and the clients are just like, we don't care anymore. So anyway, it's interesting to me that this has not made you more obviously competitive. I'm sympathetic to that. I fought with it myself. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, actually. And I think one of the reasons why that's the case is, as you've pointed out yourself, frankly, the jobs that are out there remain very closely aligned to kind of these traditional structures and traditional hierarchies and processes. And as much as everyone likes to talk about things changing and new types of jobs and new types of roles, there's not a lot of progress being made in terms of these types of roles happening. Yeah, the big four have started to certainly kind of intrude and shake things up a little bit. But you're talking about an industry that has existed the same way for for a very long period of time. And quite frankly, it's hard for me to think about them completely changing even after we get through this pandemic. The ones that are more inclined to change will likely continue on that path, and those that don't will have changed simply as a survival tactic more than anything else. It remains to be seen whether this leads to the creation of a new entire category or categories of jobs. I remain somewhat skeptical of that just because of the fact that nothing seems to be changing yet, which doesn't mean that anyone, including myself, should give up on what we're trying to do, but more a matter of that it's just hard work. It's just hard work, and it's just, you have to be persistent. And I tweeted and talked about this on LinkedIn a little bit, but just persevering, and you have to be tenacious as hell, ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the threads in the book was like, do this stuff because it will make you happier, not because other people will get it. Because other people, they won't much get it. And the good thing about being solo, and I even say people with jobs are solo. Like we're all free. We're all LeBron in a free agent year, right? Trying to prove our contract, whether it's with a new client or with a new job. Some of this stuff you just go learn these competencies because they're better for you. They're better for your mental health. Having these assets, this ability to go connect with people and
Oh,
call on that network when you need it. It's for you.
right. Absolutely. I mean, that's why I continue to do what I do. It's more because, frankly, it makes me happy, it brings me joy. Everyone needs to find some way to maintain some semblance of happiness these days. And for me, that's doing this type of stuff, talking to people, learning about legal tech, writing about it, all of that. That just brings me joy and reminds me of why I started to do this in the first place, because it's a happy place to be for me.
So on the family side, and the short version for people, because I think a lot of people are thinking, instead of me, if I've got a cash crunch, should I keep going with my company or should I go try to find a job? I think, quite frankly, there aren't jobs. There aren't a lot. There's not a lot out there. And there are some. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some to be found, but the employer has a lot of control right now, is the way I would put it. And without assets like audience and expertise, the things that I read about in the book, you're just losing a lot of control because they see you as easily replaceable. That's a tough place for labor to be in. So hopefully you guys will be persuaded to continue to build on assets. On the personal side, I think you guys are a 2-income home, right? So you have the ability to take some risks and to sort of spread out your. I was talking to Mark Homer about this with me. I'm a sole income household, and so if I decide to play and break something, we're just screwed. It's like there's not a lot of risk tolerance at our house. But I believe that you guys have the ability to sort of go take a chance.
We have some. It's not an extraordinarily amount, but there's some there. So yeah, I have the ability to do a little bit of experimenting, and which I'm thankful for and feel lucky to be able to do. It's nice to have that ability. And I would say in general, for anyone, having even the little bit of leeway to experiment can be really powerful, because that's how you really kind of grow. That's how you develop. That's how you kind of really see what you're capable of. Is by pushing yourself beyond where you feel comfortable and into an area of uncertainty. And that's, I think, especially hard now because mentally you're already uncertain about everything that's going on. So to push yourself professionally in an uncertain way, there's a little bit of craziness, I think, involved. Not bad craziness, but a little bit of kind of just, all right, to hell with it. Let me go see what happens if I do X or Y.
Right. So relationship-wise, I talked to Shreya and Colin about this because it's just the two of them in their house up in the woods, and it's a little house. I'm really surprised that couples are not just killing each other right now. I've said very many times that my wife and I, our secret is to lay next to each other in bed with two totally different devices, watching two totally different things. Because if we talk too much, we'll try to drown each other. It's the two of you and some cats. How are you not killing each other?
So, it's funny you should say that because my husband, he at first was a little worried about not me killing him, more about him going after me. Because I feel like I'm a little more maintenance required type of person. But with that being said, I think we found it to work because we kind of both do our own thing during the day. And we're lucky. And I think also another factor is we are lucky to have a fair amount of space so we can separate physically. So that I think is helpful, both with the cats and with him. So I think that plays a role. And also I think, we just do different things and, we check in with one another and converse, but, we're not on top of each other all the time and fairly self-sufficient. So that I think is helpful. But yeah, a lot of my friends and family are kind of just, holding on a little bit because of the fact that they've got limited space or just have a lot going on. I mean, my brother and his wife and my niece, they live in an apartment downtown in Boston, and I don't know I have no idea how they're handling it because if that were us, I don't know. I'd be
I know.
making a wall.
I hate living in suburbia, but right now I love it. Like the fact that I can social distance from my family. We lived in Midtown Kansas City before coming here, and I think that place for 6 people was like 1,100 square feet or something, and we were going to kill each other.
Yeah.
That right now, it was bad when they weren't home all the time, like now. And we're just trying to figure out school stuff now, and that's really our only stressor. The rest of it, we're mostly okay. Well, cool. I appreciate you sharing that perspective, and I know you mentioned that you're going to give some updates on the socials about your search and what's going on with jobs and stuff. I just really think it's fascinating, the narrative that we're told. I'm not blaming Susskind. Listen, Richard, I think you're great, but if you go read a Richard Susskind book, you would believe that people like me and Colin are just like everybody wants us all the time. It's just not true. You just you go build your own thing. We're all in the same spot, everybody. Just go build your stuff. But if people want to follow that and follow your journey, what's the best place to keep track of you?
Sure. So probably Twitter is a great place, _Levy_law, or on LinkedIn, Colin S. Levy. I also have a website, colinslevy.com. That's my blog and has some other kind of information about me. So those are probably the 3 best places to do that.
Cool. I appreciate it, Colin. And for anybody watching, especially the ladies, it's always true that if I say, hey, who wants to talk to me tonight? It's just all bros show up. I love you, dudes. You're all fine people. But ladies, let's chit chat. I got to know what's going on. Because if we're being honest, you guys are doing most of the homeschooling. So I really want to know what's going on with you. So we'll continue to have these chats. Just check in with people every night. I hope everybody will join up and remember to go drop some Ask Twinsies questions. And we'll answer that. You guys have a good night. Thank you again, Colin. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks.